Welcome back to Mtambo podcast. My name is Mtambo, and today I'm joined by Jakub Simek, an incredible thinker, co-founder of SoteHub, and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss with Jakub about his new book, Dark Dynamism, and a book that challenges our assumptions about growth, sovereignty, and the role of technology in shaping a regenerative future. Jakub, welcome back to Mtambo podcast.
Duke, thank you. I'm happy to be back. And I look forward to discussing my book, Dark Dynamism, and any other topic, over coming weeks with you.
Wow, that's great. Okay, Jakub, let's kickstart things off with the big question. What inspired you to write Dark Dynamism, and what core idea were you aiming to unpack?
Right. So I wrote a book before called Bespoke Balagisms, right? So it's I wrote about like Balaji's ideas. So it was like 90 ideas of Balaji Srinivasan and 10 of my own kind of concepts, from his thought. And here in Dark Dynamism, I try to like bring more of my concepts, more of my ideas, but again based on various thinkers like Balaji or Alexander Bard, actually, that we interviewed together, the Swedish philosopher. And so it's like this like kind of it takes inspiration from complexity science, from like this intellectual dark web, from some various internet subcultures, from Balaji, of course, and network states, from his book Network State. And so it's kind of like various kind of movements like these, like lunar punk or a dark renaissance. Before I called it opaque renaissance. So dark dynamism, it's like American dynamism, kind of play on words.
I remember you mentioned about Bart, and he was a good guest in our podcast. Anyway, that's powerful starting point, Jakub, and I love how you have framed this as a lens to view the tensions in our society and chaos and order colliding in unexpected ways. Maybe it reminds me of how we also often see these dynamics play out in technology, politics, and even personal growth, where disruption can lead to innovation, but also instability. But in your book, we constructed with blue tribes getting to Denmark. I deal with the great tribes, optimistic future of getting to Dubai or even getting to Mars. Could you unpack maybe how can these contrasting visions shape our worldviews?
Yeah, right. So again, this is like expanding on kind of like idea of Balaji Srinivasan, like discussed like, I don't know, 2 years ago, where he kind of takes this idea of great tribe by Scott Alexander. And great tribe is like techno-optimistic tribe. It's like, okay, so you have the American blue tribes. That's kind of like the legacy institutions, the academia, and let's say Democratic Party, or the Brussels. If you imagine California politics or the Brussels politics plus the academia, the think tanks, that's like the blue tribe activists. Then the red tribe is like, okay, maybe what you would call populists, but like in it's kind of like more normal people. Like I think it's kind of like pro-business and pro kind of like, let's say, family values people. It's not just conservative. This doesn't need to be conservative. Like, Trump is not conservative, but like if you imagine kind of Trump as a caricature, maybe of that kind of people, then this is like the red tribe. And gray tribe is like those like people who like technology, who like to code, and engineers. They are not really that bothered about politics, but they are the builders. They like to build new things. And so these are like kind of like meta tribes, like 3 tribes, and you can create some like synergies or fusions between them. So Yeah, and getting to Denmark, that's like the Fukuyama, the American kind of neoconservative philosopher. He wrote The End of History. It's like a very famous essay. But then he had this expression of getting to Denmark, meaning like many countries want to achieve something like Denmark had maybe like in the 90s, and there was like the effective synthesis of a social democracy, good governance, and uh, global commerce, or a globally competitive commerce, right? So yeah, so that was like getting to Denmark, but like okay, now getting to Dubai, or getting to Singapore, getting to El Salvador, or maybe that's like maybe a bit newer dream. Basically, like what is maybe the future ideal or current ideal state, ideal kind of maybe more like philosophically, but like what is winning in the battle of ideas. And so like for example, China, the current China was reformed by Singapore, by the example of Singapore, of Lee Kuan Yew. And so Deng Xiaoping, he got inspired, and he got the inspiration from Lee Kuan Yew and from Singapore, and he basically made the moral innovation, as Balaji would call it, the moral innovation of entrepreneurship is good. So he like legalized entrepreneurship in China that was socialist or communist, right? And now transformed China into kind of like a turbo capitalism or techno capitalistic machine that is China now. So, but getting to Dubai or getting to Singapore, that's kind of like maybe like a new dream. Like Denmark is not so popular among normal people as it was before, maybe in the 90s. Yeah, and getting to Mars, that's like maybe the dream of like Elon Musk as as maybe like the caricature or the leader of the, not caricature but in a good sense, right? Like the leader of the techno optimistic tribe. Yeah. So getting to Mars, getting to Dubai, and getting to Denmark. Yeah. Right. So. Yeah.
That's fascinating, Jakub. And I see this shift as a sign of both maybe disillusionment with legacy institution and the hunger for urgency in an age of decline and opportunity. But how do you think these visions might clash or co-evolve in practice?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think getting to Dubai, it might now. Yeah, I think it will get commodified, meaning like it will get kind of normal. Like we see in the West, we see the decline of the blue cities, kind of like the slow deterioration. It's like very difficult maybe for people to imagine. Because the decline is kind of slow, right? Like let's say the cities are a bit more dangerous and dirtier than they used to be like 30 years ago. It has various reasons for it. One of them might be like not so smart immigration policy, but it might be also like just the inability to build quickly or to repair things. It's just like what Balaji calls like the difference between founders and inheritors, the heirs, of a system. So if you are a founder, you can build a factory from scratch, but this also means you can repair the factory. But if you just inherited something like a 10th generation, let's say, of some political machine, you don't know how to build things from scratch, how to build institutions from scratch, or maybe do some innovative things. So that's but if you see, let's say, China growing or being able to build infrastructure, let's say 1,000 times faster than the West, right? Then over times, if you build something like, I don't know, magnitudes cheaper and faster, maybe even better, right? Soon, if not yet, then slowly but surely the difference will be undeniable, and then this will force the, let's say, the Western governments or Western cities at least to kind of change their course. So I think like getting to Dubai will get like commodified, it's like getting to like a smart city, or like something like, like everybody's talking about smart cities, like how you have sensors everywhere, cameras everywhere. So let's say people can they get fined if they go above speed limit, or if they don't stop on a red light, or something like that. So like, but this is like a long-term trend, but basically getting to Dubai, it's just like a name, right? It could be like getting to a smart city, or and then like maybe the new dream for then this, even like the Blue Tribe, they have some thinkers are like for building, like they're pro development, pro building, meaning like yes, in my backyard. It's called the IMBism, right? Yes, in my backyard. So, and you have also like this techno optimistic kind of left or parts of the Blue Tribe. They are the minority, but they are there, and I think maybe over time they will kind of get maybe this kind of socialistic influence will fade, and then people will embrace more of this like turbo capitalism, maybe with some like some, of course, even Singapore has some. It's a fusion of various ideas, also some kind of social democratic ideas, capitalistic, this and that. So so basically this is like getting to Dubai will get like commodified, like everybody will try. That's kind of like a prediction maybe for the longer future. It's like everybody, like let's say Chinese cars, like let's say 3 years ago, at least here in the West or in Slovakia where I'm from, I bought like a MG, so it's a British brand like MG, but it's owned by Shanghai Automotive Corporation. SAIC, and it's a Chinese car, right? Like, but when I bought it like 2 years ago, there were not so many of them, but now you have a lot of them, So it's like a similar kind of thing, like once you see that something works clearly better, let's say it's cheaper and it's maybe even better and cheaper at the same time, then you will get more of it. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad, but it's just like a prediction. And then the frontier will move. Let's say it will be like getting into a startup village. So like the Blue Tribe, instead of Denmark, let's say they will be like getting into startup city or smart city, startup city, and the Red Tribe, maybe they will be, instead of like getting to Dubai, they might be like kind of trying to de-urbanize or like live more locally, more in a kind of village setting. So it's like getting to a smart village, startup village or smart community, right? So startup village is like one idea that also Balaji mentioned, that's like a, instead of like some big network state or like big startup city, let's just start very small and humble, like a startup village. That might be like the new kind of maybe Red Tribe and Gray Tribe fusion. Like let's build some startup villages outside of big cities. Maybe it's more difficult to attract people there, but the community might be stronger. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And sorry, and then getting to Mars. I have to like okay, this I think will still stay as a goal, right?
Okay, that's interesting and a good contrast about these visions, and also in your book Dark Dynamism, you introduced the DD, or let's say triple D triad, drones, dark factories, and deurbanization as key to scaling these startups, villages, and network states. What drew you to these technologies as a roadmap?
Yeah, right. So it's again, it sounds good, like DDD. Yeah, it's like dark dynamism, and then you have drones, dark factories, and deurbanization. And so, mm, yeah, so drones are here, like all the robotics, AI. So like it's like hardware kind of, and AI and robots all together, like under one umbrella of drones, right? So, but this could be this could be like not just drones flying, but this could be, yeah, all kind of automated machines, including AI and yeah, and robotics. And then dark factories are yeah. It's a technical term, meaning like factories that don't require lights because they're like fully automated. And okay, this could be like the modern AI data centers, but this could be also like automated mines where you don't have it's like a no entry mine or something. You have just robots running around, and it's kind of like it was a nice prediction. Yeah, I have to ask AI, and you can do it as well. You know, just which predictions pan out and which didn't from the book. But recently, it was just like a couple of months ago. Travis Kalanick, the founder of Uber, he introduced a new company that was in a stealth mode for a long time. It's called Atoms, and one of the verticals, or one of the things that they're solving is mining, actually. So they do like automated mining, you know, like you have some old machines in the mine, and they try to automate it, you know, like install kind of some electronic and AI kind of enabled things to automate these big trucks or big machines. So they try to make it more safer and quicker and safer for humans, and like basically make the mining much cheaper, right? So that's like one prediction. It's like these dark factories. They are not. I mean, maybe yeah, you have like Xiaomi thing, like the phone maker, automating or showing like how the robots are making the mobile phones like kind of in an automated way. There was this speed factory by Adidas. Actually, it was an earlier attempt, but it kind of failed. It was like using 3D printing for sneakers. So yeah, but that's like a prediction, like because the dark factories, they can be then put underground. So you don't like, let's say it's, you can have like a nice visual, let's say like a park, and then there is a dark factory underneath because you don't require lighting and less humans, or almost like no humans, because everything is automated. So, and it can be put in a rural setting as well. It could be like smaller, you know, it's like this trend of digital fabrication that we discussed also last time, but kind of yeah, expanded into the future. Like so dark factories, it's like a frontier, what might happen next. And maybe the boldest prediction is like deurbanization, because that's kind of difficult, because like all the yeah, all the trends are like all the regions of the world, including Africa, actually are urbanizing rapidly, right? So maybe Africa is like the least urbanized, but you are very rapidly urbanizing, which is a good thing. I mean, it has benefits and it has also some problems. But here again, this is like using technology like AI, crypto, and social technologies. Basically, you could make living in a smaller communities or startup villages more viable and more desirable for people, right? So, like let's say with drones, with autonomous cars, or something, you can fly further distances. And even last time we discussed like how, let's say, drones in Rwanda are delivering medicines and blood for, let's say, for during pregnancies, helping mothers and children in remote areas, right, to during the birth. Mm, So yeah, so Africa is kind of as with M-Pesa, Africa could be like with M-Pesa, you were like a decade ahead, at least a decade, maybe decade and a half, so 15 years ahead of the West. And with I think you could also leapfrog the West. So making urbanization less necessary. Yeah. No, I'm not maybe not slowing it down or reversing it. I don't know, but the
Mhm.
urbanization, it's like a bold claim of like even reversing urbanization, but like this could be like a trend, that's not just a kind of utopian trend, but like something that can actually happen.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. And I think from a perspective, it seems like these aren't just technology, but they are also mindsets, ways of embracing risk and maybe reconfiguring even power. But how do you see them bridging the gap between the ambition and pragmatisms?
Mhm. Right. I mean, yeah, pragmatic kind of pragmatism is something that connects actually China to the US or Asia with America, even with Africa. It's basically like you're trying many things, and then you stick with what works, right? So pragmatism is kind of like a pragmatic combination of various tools and ideas. So don't be ideological about it. So Europeans are a bit more kind of stuck in their ways and ideological. And so, yeah, pragmatism. Yeah, how to be pragmatic, right? Like, so that's a good idea. Like, for example, like last time, I think we mentioned a bit like about these recent stories about like the network school from Singapore, or basically a network school. It's like kind of a pilot of what Balaji is trying to do near Singapore, but in Malaysia. But then he had some like local. mm, Basically local problems like with local politics. No, it was nothing to do with him. It was just like local politics trying to yeah, that he ran into, right? So uh yeah, it's basically because Malaysia, they don't recognize Israel, and maybe there was like one influencer who might have several passports that have who has visited Singapore for the conference, the Network State conference, and he might have visited also the network school. I'm not sure, but I think that's what happened. And then there were some local authorities who went and searched for the passports, like just recently in July, but the guy visited maybe a year ago, right, or something. And
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, and then Balaji kind of was like demanding some kind of like memorandum of understanding from the officials, so it won't happen again. Maybe there was some kind of maybe he should have asked it from the local kind of like a local state or something like a county, right, in Kenya, not from the the country level, so sorry, like the federal level kind of thing. But whatever, there was some kind of like conflict. Then even maybe his business license got revoked because of some technicalities. So it was really kind of like, it really looked like a political kind of attack. But what happened, Balaji like moved quickly, and he's he went to India to discuss maybe some partnership. Then he went to Kazakhstan, and he actually signed a memorandum of understanding with Kazakhstan, and so he's moving network school to Kazakhstan, right? So, but
Mhm.
my book as a maybe as a kind of like a blueprint. It's more, yeah, it's kind of what just to compare it to the approach that Balaji choose. I mean, just maybe for the full context, we were discussing also like my previous books, and we were co-creating the podcast like around Balaji's ideas, and also you and me, we were part of like very early before Balaji wrote the network state book. He organized
Mhm.
like various webinars in the virtual reality kind of meetups, webinars, like kind of workshopping his book. Where we were together with with you, Duke, right? Like it's just like looking funny, like some kind of
Yeah, I
because it was
remember.
virtual reality, but there was like some big kind of emoticons kind of thing. I don't know, discussing with some, I don't know, some random Polish guy, Austrian guy, Americans. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe not so many Africans
Yeah,
there actually. Maybe you were the only one. I'm not sure.
yeah. I think maybe I was the only one. I could remember that that virtual reality
Yeah.
call, and we could even go to a fireplace with inside, that virtual reality. Yeah, and it was kind of fascinating,
Yeah, and it was the fireplace, right. Then there was some breakout session with the fire. You reminded me of it. I forgot it. Yeah, it's good times. And it was like 1729, so that was like before the network
Yes.
school, and so 1729.com. And so and then there was this 1729 writers group, so essay kind of, and so we were also part of it. And actually I remember at one kind of Zoom call that Balaji mentioning you by the name. It's funny. Like
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's like something like, I don't know, it's just like
Yeah, and I remember even that time we were very close to bring him to the podcast. I remember it was just small, a little
but
bit, I think.
he is like super busy, like and he has sometimes like when he's like not doing any Twitter or any podcast, nothing. It's just like building, then maybe for a couple of months or even a half year, and then he appears again. I think if we were persistent, we could do something. I mean, he did. For example, we wanted him for one event in Prague at Parallel Polis. That's the name of the place, the hacker space. But it's what I heard, it got closed already, or maybe they closed it like for the lack of finances. But back
The one
then.
with the UI?
Yeah, with you,
Edna?
right? Yeah. And we had like this network state even there, and we wanted Balaji to speak, and he actually, it was difficult to get something from him, and then he sent like a 1 or 2 minute video, like greeting us, which was great, like also mentioning me, but it was that's
Oh,
all
nice.
what I got. Yeah, but I remember him mentioning you, so it's like Duke Mtambo, like with the Duke, something, and it's just. Yeah, with these 1729 writers, right? Okay, but back to your question. Okay, so how would you do it pragmatically, or so? Yeah, but it's like maybe starting like various startup villages or like scaling, because like some time ago I wrote like an essay or something. It's like something between charter schools and charter cities, so it's like charter communities. So it's like a similar idea. You can call it startup communities, or moral communities, or some communities with moral innovation or some technological innovation. Yeah, and so, but the idea, but okay, Balaji, I mean, he knows, I guess, what he's doing, because I mean, he is a successful startup founder. But I would just do it like maybe still more decentralized and more locally, like to, let's say, to run parallel experiments, and with opposite kind of even opposite experiments. So for example, in Singapore or in Malaysia, he has like this. Sorry, back in the forest island. That's technically Malaysia, but very close to Singapore. So he, for example, he had these like basically what we were discussing with him, or he was discussing with us, even during the 1729 virtual reality workshop, is like what is it? So it's it's
Okay.
earn, it's
Learn,
burn. So earn, burn, and learn,
and
right?
learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So burn meaning like burning fat, like exercising. So I think he's doing this like this. That's kind of like new egalite, fraternite, liberté, whatever. So that's what he's doing there. But he has, for example, this blueprint diet by by this guy now. Okay, I forgot his name. What's his name? Brian Johnson, right? So for example, I mean, there are some tweaks where if I were testing it, but okay, I'm not Balaji, but I would do it like, let's say I would have like one small experiment startup hub, let's say one in Kenya, one in Slovakia, one in something like what he was doing, like testing with us back in the days, like testing some ideas with, let's say, Slovaks, Brits, Australians, like having like there was like the ideas included like an app for meetups, like a kind of crypto check-in kind of app, various franchises. So he was developing or workshopping these ideas with us. It was great. Like, and then he settled on something like a network school, where I think he hopes to perfect it in one spot and then maybe franchise it, or maybe get some investors, or then maybe expand to other places. But I think still this is quite a novel concept. It's not like a it's complex. It's not complicated or obvious kind of system, but it's like a complex system. So I would do like opposite experiments. So for example, I would have like a network school with a carnivore diet, and a network school with just like this blueprint. It's kind of vegetarian. Brian Johnson kind of changed it recently. He started to eat meat again because he developed some allergic or some stomach issues or something. So, and you could have like various kind of tweaks or experiments, like opposite experiments, even like testing it in various places. Maybe I would do one in the US and one outside of the US. I would do one which is carnivore and one which is vegetarian. So that's more maybe like just a kind of, sorry for a long explanation, but explaining maybe how I would tweak the approach that Balaji is taking.
Yeah, but I think the network state idea is it's a novel idea, but I think it's catching up, because there's also you remember the JUR or JUR. Yeah, they were trying to implement that. I remember you participated also, and even got an award as the best startup society, also in the Web3. But I think it also the idea, they kind of collapsed it, and but they shifted. I don't know if I think they were maybe they were approached by Draper. One of the investors, one of the biggest names in also US, and they started on something new called Deurbanization, and then this Deurbanization was kind of society network state, but now they also evolved into e-America. So it's kind of like they're trying to convert the physical America and put it as America in the cloud, whereby like they already had their own treasury, and they could also register citizens from different parts of the world. Like I'm part of the citizen of America, and where each citizen get the passport, the crypto passport, and they were also even trying to come up with testing some meetups in different parts of the world, and so I'm seeing this novel idea. Yes, it's still maybe in the early stage, but it's so many people are trying to experiment it, and it's fascinating to see that. But maybe before we dive deeper, there's this wonderful metaphor you use also in the book, philosophy as Lego and not logos. Maybe could you share what you mean by that?
Yeah, right. It's again like this kind of illustration of this kind of more pragmatic approach of doing small experiments or building ideas on top of each other, like stacking it. But like maybe back to your like just to summarize what or maybe repeat like what you said like about the Jur, right? The Jur protocol, then the Draper nation, and then they kind of again like changed it or yeah, into America. Yeah, so yeah,
Yes.
that's a good example of iteration, right? Like so, like okay, rebranding, iteration, kind of pivoting, as this they say in startups, like pivoting from one idea, one concept. And I think this is kind of maybe also closer to like this my narrative of like dark dynamism or something, which is, you know, because it takes name from American dynamism, and I know American, I mean, it takes one of the inspirations, right? Like, so because you have like American dynamism is like, not sure if it's coined by A16Z, right? Or I mean, at least they use it. It's okay, but they use it in this kind of sense. It's like hard tech and defense tech and kind of like reindustrialization, you know, re-education, like the vocational education, like let's build things in America again, right? So this kind of thing is, it's not just defense sector tech. Yeah, it's basically let's reindustrialize the West and especially America, because it's called like American dynamism. So it's not just about software, but it's about building factories, right? But it has also this because, for example, Unreal and Palantir were like the pioneers of, let's say, this whole segment. So it has also like a defense, also kind of feel to it or vibe to it, but it's not just that. It's like industrial policy, basically reindustrialization, and skills, vocational education and stuff. So you can see like this is like one inspiration. Of course, like we were also like working on like vocational education skills, like also us together, you know, especially the virtual companies and stuff. So that's another inspiration. But what I wanted to mention here is like, okay, so this is like this dynamism has yeah, this it has a similar vibe as America kind of that you mentioned, because of yeah, but basically you have maybe three ways how you can achieve something like network states, right? So like you have like a bottom up approach. Let's say let's start very small, like let's create one meetup in one city or a village, and let's grow it from there. Let's expand, have maybe various even opposing moral innovations, like okay, carnivore diet versus vegetarian diet and stuff like that. But and let's expand from there. And this is also what Balaji is discussing. So this is not like just like my idea, but for some reason, for example, he settled on this like Brian Johnson and blueprint. It's just like one kind of diet, but I think diet is quite important in community. You know, it can work as a filter, but yeah, I wouldn't settle on one diet, for example. But anyhow, so this is like the bottom up approach, and then you have a top down approach. Yeah, like meat, nyama chama, right? But you have a top down approach. This would be like, let's say, a Trump starting network state, or this would be like the US, China, and India getting together and creating like some special economic zone. Let's say somewhere, I don't know, together with some partner country, like, yeah, it's like let's create a special economic zone together with Kenya, you know, and have like 4 countries together, let's say India, America, or I mean the US and China or something. So that's like the top down approach. And then you can have actually a center out approach. This would be like let's say some UNDP innovation team kind of getting excited about network states and crypto and AI and trying to do some pilots together, let's say with some other some other agencies, some other bureaucrats. So it's not like bottom up, and it's also not top down, but it's more like a deep state, but not in a negative sense here. It's just like some basically various institutions or international organizations, let's say like UNDP, getting excited about some technological or moral innovation or both, and like trying to do some pilots. So yeah, there are various ways how you could expand like this kind of or test these kind of ideas like network states, okay, and start from startup societies to like build it from small to bigger one. But even even top down approaches, like here the Bitcoin metaphor is quite handy, right? Like if you have a Bitcoin institutional adoption that happened, right? You have like this institutional, like this, ETF, Bitcoin ETF approved in the US. And that's kind of like Bitcoin getting institutional. It's like kind of top down adoption.
Even the I saw recently the Clarity Act, which is also almost passed by the Senate in America, which will also make the Bitcoin as at a top level, because now to be more embraced by the government and maybe serve as treasury in the federal government.
So that's just like an example. So maybe even network states, they could some years or even months or years, they could be like adopted from top down. And I think the memorandum of understanding with Kazakhstan, so between Network School and Kazakhstan, it's like maybe an example already of some kind of deal between the network and the state. So it's amazing achievement. Actually, it was kind of a bit ridiculed is a strong word, but like there is this like TBPN podcast, so it's like Tech Bros Podcast Network or something, TBPN, but it's a high quality podcast. Like they sold to OpenAI for I think $1 billion dollars.
Oh, really?
They are pretty professional and big and stuff. But like they were discussing like I think last Monday maybe, like a couple of days ago, they were discussing also this like MOU with Kazakhstan. The Balaji is of the Network School MOU with Kazakhstan, but they didn't provide the full context of like actually Network School being kicked out of Malaysia, so they're like desperately looking for a second home, right, or something. But they were just like kind of making fun of Kazakhstan because of the Borat movie. I don't know if you know. Do you know the Borat movies? I'm not sure if you know it. If you're too young.
No, I don't know it. I don't
know
no.
Okay, all right. So but anyhow, the idea was like the Kazakhstan is too far or something from Silicon Valley. But I think like actually. It's quite difficult like to do anything other than AI in this like kind of environment. Everything is all about AI. But even if you take AI, there is a lot of talent actually coming from Asia and from Eastern Europe, and so the Central Asia, like countries like Kazakhstan, are in the middle. So the criticism of TBPN hosts was that, okay, Kazakhstan is like 30-hour flight from Silicon Valley or something, because you have to go through Istanbul or something, so it's not 30 hours flight, but it's with all the waiting and the connecting flight and everything, it maybe takes like a day. Let's say, okay, if not, but they were saying 30 hours, but let's say it takes like a whole day. It might be true, but like, okay, but then the idea is like, okay, many people are choosing the US. The lot of talent, right? The AI talent moves to the US, and it's true still. But like also what Balaji is talking for, what he's discussing for quite some time is that the US kind of gets much more stricter immigration laws, and actually tech people like the Great Tribe, it's usually immigrants and engineers and capitalists and techno-optimists, and they're kind of hated by both, increasingly more hated by both the Blue Tribe and also the Red Tribe for different reasons, right? Like let's say the Blues, they don't like them because they're capitalists, and that the Reds they don't like them that much because they are not like they are immigrants and not they were not born in the US or something like that. Yeah. So but they just, I don't know, they came from Eastern Europe or from India or Africa or Asia. So they have also problems with China, of course. Both these tribes, and a lot of these people in AI are actually of Asian descent. So yeah, so I think Kazakhstan, I mean, they were making fun of it, but I don't think it's or they were also kind of criticizing it, like, why do something in Kazakhstan is almost impossible, why don't you do it in the US? But I think yeah, let's see, the time will prove them either wrong or right, but I think Balaji can pull this off. But I would also like, if I were him, I would do it like in various places, including the US. Just testing opposite hypothesis, because his hypothesis is that the US is on decline, and let's say the China is rising, the Asia is rising. But I would maybe I would. For example, my hypothesis also in the book, elaborated in the book, and maybe I will elaborate it in some future articles or work, is like, thanks to AI, I discuss like Afro-European dynamism, right? Like that's like one of the essay or article. Again, using this like Balaji and longitudinal arbitrage, the idea that the Africa and Europe can be much more connected thanks to the internet, high-speed internet, and thanks to virtual reality, telepresence, this and that. But yeah, but like, so one of the ideas is like, maybe thanks to AI, Africa can actually leapfrog the West again, like as you did with mobile phones, with mobile banking, with M-Pesa, or with drones and drone delivery, and in Rwanda, as we discussed before. So AI can also, so like, okay, one hypothesis is like the Silicon Valley is the best, and it actually the current AI boom even solidified and strengthened the Silicon Valley dominance in tech. It's true. Currently, it's true, but it might not be true forever. Another counter example is that actually China is catching up, so Asia is also important, where Kazakhstan can play some role. Definitely being between Eastern Europe and East Asia and East Europe. And then maybe another hypothesis, kind of orthogonal, would be like AI and Africa, AI Africa or something. AI can actually win. I don't know, because it's like, Africans have swag, vibe, taste, and they have this like drive, like, yeah, just this kind of hustling culture and stuff. So yeah, maybe Africans can actually win. It won't be East Europeans. It won't be Americans or East Asians. It might be Africans at the end. But yeah, and it's okay hypothesis. Why not? But I think I would just test it with, let's say, placing a network school or network community or network, I don't know what, village, network village, network community, network school, placing one in the US, let's say in Miami, one in Kazakhstan, one in Singapore, one in Nairobi, and one in Voi. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Mombasa, for sure. But just taking maybe even like some popular destinations, one somewhere in China, or in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Okay. Those great perspective and good example and hypothesis, and I mean that resonates with the playful yet serious work of building new mental models. It reminds me of also how we in Kenya see entrepreneurship as a modular and adaptable, as you say, more of hustling, but a constant remix of pieces. So let's explore how that applies to the rest of your book. And maybe let's turn to the dark growth, where you describe it as a form of growth that is not just about GDP, but about new modes of agency and sovereignty. Maybe can you clarify how dark growth differs from the status quo?
Yeah, right. So it's kind of play on words, because it's like the opposite of degrowth. So it's like degrowth is like this kind of techno-pessimistic kind of idea, like you should slow down, you should like decrease development, decrease the GDP. It's like basically to protect the nature, but it's kind of like very kind of dystopian, Malthusian kind of ideology espoused by some leftists, or basically the blue tribe, maybe people. But then you have like a normal growth. Let's say it's just like something that is visible, which is okay, but it has some problems. Which one of them is like this mimetic competition, right? Like mimetic competition. Sorry. So it's like, it's basically this fear of missing out, like the FOMO, right? Like now everything is about AI, so everybody is discussing AI, and this has some benefits, but also some. It can create bubbles, or it can create a lot of envy, and dark growth is like this idea. It's not degrowth, it's not just visible growth, but it's dark growth. It's like this lunar punk kind of. Maybe adjacent kind of feel or vibe to it. And it's basically, you are growing, but maybe you're developing, like developing your skills, or growing, but like, let's say, you're growing, like you have these dark factories, like, for example, a good explanation, I think, is like the South Korea versus the North Korea, and so the South Korea has the lights and all the, South Korea and North Korea in the night, like and that's like, and it's a good metaphor of like what works better, capitalism or communism. But I'm taking this idea again, and I'm just like saying, like, okay, but maybe they have everything underground in the tunnels, So it's just like, that's just the metaphor of the dark road. Like, if you have like dark factories, they don't require lights, right? So you can have like, let's say, you can have like a small startup village, like everything is nice, it looks like some nice houses are kind of traditional or something, but then, or even like some park in the middle, and then you have a dark factory, like without lights, because it's fully automated. You have it underground, so it's like nobody sees it, and it can be like quite prosperous, but in harmony with nature, because nobody's cutting any trees, because like, or if they cut it, they put them back. I mean, or they grow new trees, because you have a park and there is a dark factory underneath the park. So it's like it's basically like an effective synthesis between degrowth and growth, kind of, or so it's dark growth.
I think the North Korea and South Korea, that's a good example. It's a totally good example.
But with the twist, right? With the twist, it's not just capitalism, communism, but it's like the third thing, like doing things underground in the tunnels, so you don't need lights.
I think that's powerful, and it feels like that growth isn't about dystopian futures, but about embracing shadow, those uncomfortable spaces of power, and also maybe innovation that legacy systems avoid. You also explore the network utilitarianism and proof of work politics. Maybe could you explain these concepts of maybe these two concepts for our listeners who are new to them?
Yeah, so maybe we can then wrap on these, like, and then maybe continue next time or something. So it's just like being mindful of the listeners, or by we can do it even like a longer, but as you want, and like split it. But right, so yeah, network utilitarianism. Yeah, you have like an individual utilitarianism. It's basically trying to maximize the well-being of an individual, and then you have like a collective utilitarianism, which is kind of in the ancient China. It was called Mohism. Mohism. It's like Mohism, the philosopher who came, and it's basically like state utilitarianism or state consequentialism or collective utilitarianism. So either you want to maximize the well-being of an individual or maximize the well-being of a state, of some kind of country, let's say, or yeah, a nation. And network utilitarianism is something between these two, right? It's kind of, you are trying to maximize the well-being of a network, which is like more scalable, because it could be like a startup village, or it could be like some kind of predecessor of a network state. So let's say some startup society all around the world, and you try to maximize the well-being of those members, of all of them, not just like them individually, because it's yeah, Balaji has a good metaphor or saying about this. It's like individually alpha, collectively beta. As it's like alpha males, but when they're together, they are not that they don't create like some amazing smart team or anything. It's just like individually alpha, collectively beta. But this is like a similar kind of thing. But basically, if you take this like effective altruism, and they are and this maybe even this like woke kind of blue tribe woke kind of ideology tendencies, they lead to addiction. So it's basically, yeah, you want to maximize the bliss, the well-being of an individual, but usually you end up with some addiction. It's just like you are either addicted to your comfortable lifestyle, you're addicted to some substances, addicted to social media, to your fame, to your ego. Even if you go like through, let's say, some meditation, therapy, this and that, it kind of leads into addiction, right? It's even liberalism. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, it's. I don't know. Yeah, with effective altruism, it's more extreme. They try to maximize the well-being of shrimps or of rats or of various animals. I don't know. But even if you take just like more classical or more kind of liberal kind of viewpoint, too much focus on individualism is like suboptimal. It's like, okay, individuals end up to. It's like the saying, how is it? The strong men create good times create weak men create bad times, and bad times create strong men. It's like it's like this kind of cycle. Yeah, but it's kind of, this is on the level of individual. Yeah, maximizing the individual. So basically, utilitarianism means like maximizing well-being, and yeah, individual utilitarianism is like maximizing the well-being of individuals. Collective utilitarianism, on the other hand, is like maximizing the well-being, let's say, of a state, right, or something. And the network utilitarianism as an idea that I write about in my book Dark Dynamism tries to like elaborate on maybe some kind of third perspective, like how we could how a network is different from, let's say, like some local community, how we could maximize the well-being of a network, and why it is more like scalable. Maybe collective utilitarianism might feel too much oppressive, right? Like, so it's just like, I don't know, subordinating the well-being of individual just to purely maximize, let's say, the state GDP, or some kind of, it kind of feels too authoritarian or oppressive. But individual utilitarianism is like leads to addiction, and it's kind of also oppressive, but in a different way. It's kind of like let's say homeless people in San Francisco being left outside on the streets to die from overdose. Yeah, it's not a good place either. Collective utilitarianism might be a bit more draconian. Let's say, I don't know, some like, yeah, quite effective might be, but like, let's say some COVID policies in China or in the West or something. Yeah, but the network utilitarianism, like something in the middle, like yeah. So that's the idea. Maybe I can expand on it, but I also need to look at the article again. Like,
yeah. I mean, I see a resonance with the idea of legitimacy by doing, not just talking. As here in Kenya, we often say "pesa ni sabuni ya roho." Money is the soap of the soul, meaning real work listens rhetoric. Anyway, I think we'll have to end up this today's podcast, and then we shall continue to on the next one. So thank you, Jakub, again for always coming to Mtambo podcast and try to dispense your knowledge and mental model.
Yeah, thank you, Duke. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to our next discussion, the next talk. Hopefully see you soon, and take care. Yeah, enjoy your August.
Enjoy your August. Enjoy your August in Slovakia. Well, Jakub Simek, everyone. Dark Dynamism is also out, and I highly recommend it for everyone who wants to reimagine the future. Check out Jakub's book online. The links would be in the description below. And if you enjoyed listening to Mtambo podcast, don't forget to subscribe and give this episode a thumbs up. And always, this is Duke Mtambo, inviting you to keep questioning, keep building, and keep loving the process. Until next time, stay dynamic and don't forget to do good always.